My name is Sheila. Standing in the boardroom, I watched as my father, Alexander, stared at me with disbelief and a hint of fear. The tension in the air was palpable, and the silence was deafening. Just moments ago, I had presented the will that would change everything. The Montgomery family was a well-known real estate dynasty in Chicago. My father, Alexander Montgomery, was the CEO of Montgomery Real Estate, a company founded by my grandmother, Isabella, in the 1950s. By 2025, the company was worth over $100 million. I've always been the black sheep of the family. My sister, Victoria, was the golden child. She graduated from Yale Law School with honors and was promised the inheritance and the leadership of the company. Meanwhile, I had dyslexia. Reading was a struggle for me, and my parents, especially my father, saw me as a liability. When I was 13, Victoria was sent to the best music schools and had private tutors for every subject. When I asked for help with my reading, my mother, Amelia, would just sigh and say, "Sheila, some people are just not academically inclined." I believed her back then and learned to adapt on my own. I started using audiobooks and developed a system of visual notes. Every Sunday, I would visit my grandmother, Isabella, in her old-fashioned mansion on the outskirts of the city. She would spend hours with me, telling me stories and teaching me how to understand business contracts not by reading every word, but by looking at the overall structure. "Sheila," she once said, "you see things others miss. That's your strength." During a family Christmas dinner in 2019, when I was 17, my father proudly announced that Victoria had been accepted into Yale Law School. He talked about how she would take the family business to new heights. Then he glanced at me and said, "And Sheila is here too." Everyone laughed awkwardly, and Victoria joined in. Under the table, my grandmother squeezed my hand. I looked up and saw the anger in her eyes directed at my father. After graduating from a local state university in 2023, I applied for a job at Montgomery Real Estate. My father hired me as an administrative assistant with a meager salary of $45,000 a year, while Victoria joined as the chief legal officer with a salary of $300,000 plus bonuses. My job was mainly photocopying papers, booking meeting rooms, and making coffee for executives who barely knew my name. But in the copy room, I discovered my talent. I could spot patterns in business deals that others missed. I would sketch diagrams of the relationships between different parties and the flow of money. My grandmother had taught me this skill. She once told me, "Your father reads contracts like a hunter looking for prey. You read them like an artist, seeing the whole picture." In 2020, when my grandmother was 83, she called me to her mansion. She handed me a small wooden box and said, "Keep this safe. Don't open it yet. When the time is right, you'll know." I didn't understand what she meant, but I took the box and put it in my closet. In April 2025, I received an email from HR. They were restructuring, and my position was being eliminated. That evening, I overheard my parents talking in my father's office. "She can't be here when Victoria takes over." "It looks bad," my father said. My mother agreed, saying that I just didn't have what it took. The next day was Victoria's graduation party at the Ritz-Carlton. I stood at the entrance in my simple black dress, feeling out of place among the guests in their expensive clothes. My mother intercepted me and told me to sit at a table near the service entrance and not to cause any trouble. At 8:30 p.m., my father took the stage. He announced that Victoria would inherit his entire estate and become the CEO of Montgomery Real Estate when he passed away. The room erupted in applause, and I sat there, feeling invisible. Then, a man in a gray suit approached me. He introduced himself as Henry Thompson, my grandmother's lawyer. He handed me an envelope and said, "This is the real will. Your grandmother left it for you, and I was instructed to give it to you when your father publicly disinherited you." I opened the envelope in a quiet hallway. The will stated that my grandmother, Isabella Montgomery, bequeathed 51% of her shares in Montgomery Real Estate to me, along with all voting rights. She knew about my father's treatment of me and wanted to ensure that I had a chance. But there was a condition. I had to request an emergency board meeting within 72 hours. That night, I opened the wooden box. Inside was a hand-written letter from my grandmother, an old partnership agreement from the company's early days, and a USB drive. The letter explained that the partnership agreement gave the founders shares permanent voting rights, and the USB contained evidence of my father's attempt in 2018 to reduce my grandmother's voting rights because he thought she was too old. I contacted Margaret, a board member who is a close friend of my grandmother. She helped me gather the support of 2 other board members to request the emergency board meeting. On the day of the board meeting, my father and Victoria tried to stop me from entering. But Margaret vouched for me, and I was allowed in. In the boardroom, my father and Victoria tried to undermine me, saying that I was unqualified and that the will was a forgery. But I presented the evidence. I played the recording from the 2018 board meeting where my father said my grandmother didn't understand modern business. After a long and tense session, the board's legal counsel confirmed that the will was valid. I then proposed a vote of confidence in my father as the CEO. I didn't want to just fire him, I wanted justice. The board voted, and the majority voted no confidence. My father had to tender his resignation. After the meeting, my father and mother confronted me in the corridor. My father accused me of being ungrateful, but I stood my ground. I told them that I was just telling the truth. My mother tried to explain that they were trying to protect me, but I knew it was just an excuse. In the following months, my life changed. I moved into a new apartment in the city. My mother and I started having lunch together, and she began to see me as a person. Victoria and I also started to rebuild our relationship. She admitted that she had been protecting herself by not defending me in the past. Looking back, I realized that my grandmother left me more than just a company. She left me the courage to believe in myself. I don't need my parents' approval anymore. I can judge my own worth by my own standards.